Lewis Hamilton is driving his new Ferrari in an incredible way, reminding us of his golden era at Mercedes. Do you want to know the reason behind this success? Stay until the end, and I'll tell you. Lewis Hamilton's arrival at Ferrari is not just a team switch, it is a tectonic shift in the world of Formula One, a moment that will be analyzed, dissected, and debated for years to come. It is a move that has already sent shockwaves through the paddock, leaving teams, drivers, and fans scrambling to understand the full impact of what it means. This is not a simple case of an aging champion looking for a graceful exit. This is the most successful driver of the modern era stepping into the most legendary team in the history of the sport with one goal in mind: to win. To silence doubters. To elevate Ferrari back to the top of the sport. To etch his name into an entirely new chapter of Formula One history. This is a mission, a calculated risk, a defining moment in his career, and a bold statement that he is far from done. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. The anticipation surrounding Hamilton's move has been nothing short of electrifying. Fans, pundits, and insiders have speculated endlessly about the reasons behind his decision. Why leave Mercedes, a team that provided him with 6 world titles, a team that built an empire around him, a team that became synonymous with dominance? Why step away from the security of a familiar system that had been optimized to his driving style, his feedback, his preferences? The answer lies in Hamilton's mindset. He is not the kind of driver who settles for comfort. He is not content with past achievements. He thrives on challenges. He embraces adversity. He craves the opportunity to defy expectations, to do what others believe is impossible, to push himself beyond the limits of what even he has accomplished before. The opportunity to drive for Ferrari, to take on the weight of its history, its pressure, its expectations, was not just appealing, it was irresistible. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. From the moment he set foot in Maranello, there was an undeniable sense that something special was happening. The atmosphere within Ferrari has changed. Engineers speak of a new energy in the factory. Mechanics describe a renewed sense of purpose. The leadership sees a shift in mentality. There is an intensity, a focus, a belief that has been absent for years. Hamilton's mere presence has raised the stakes, has demanded a higher level of precision, has set a new standard for excellence. He has not just arrived at Ferrari, he has taken command of it. He has integrated himself with stunning efficiency, absorbing every detail of how the team operates, dissecting every element of the car's design, embedding himself in the culture in a way that very few expected. Drivers who spend over a decade in one system do not just walk into a new team and immediately operate at a competitive level. History has shown that transitions take time. Fernando Alonso struggled when he moved to McLaren in 2007. Sebastian Vettel took years to find his rhythm at Ferrari. Even Michael Schumacher, when he joined Mercedes, faced an uphill battle adapting to a different structure. But Hamilton is proving, yet again, that he does not follow conventional trajectories. His early reports from testing, his simulator work, his interactions with engineers all point to one thing: he is not here to learn slowly. He is here to win. He has already reshaped Ferrari's expectations for itself. His work ethic is setting a new benchmark. He has spent countless hours in the simulator, working through every nuance of the SF24's handling. His feedback has been described as meticulous, relentless, detail-oriented in a way that has already forced Ferrari's engineers to rethink certain design elements. He is not merely adapting to the car, he is shaping it. He has brought with him a level of scrutiny that has forced the team to refine its approach, to push harder, to eliminate inefficiencies that had previously been overlooked. His influence is being felt in every department, from aerodynamics to race strategy, from pit stop practice to data analysis. He has come in not just as a driver, but as a leader, an architect of what Ferrari hopes will be its return to the top. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. The psychological impact on the competition is undeniable. Red Bull, so accustomed to having Ferrari as an occasional threat rather than a persistent challenger, now faces a different kind of opponent. Hamilton's ability to extract performance from a car, to read races like a chess master, to deliver under pressure, has made Ferrari a much more formidable adversary. Max Verstappen, who has enjoyed an era of relative dominance, now knows that he is facing not just a fast Ferrari, but a Ferrari driven by a 7-time world champion with an unmatched hunger for victory. Mercedes, Hamilton's former team, finds itself in an awkward position, torn between respecting their former leader and preparing for what could become a direct battle against him. Every team on the grid is recalibrating its expectations, because they know that Hamilton does not make moves lightly. If he believes Ferrari can win, that belief alone changes the dynamic of the entire championship. The fans have responded in a way that few anticipated. Ferrari, already boasting the most passionate global following in motorsport, has now combined forces with Hamilton's massive fanbase, creating an unprecedented level of excitement. Social media engagement has exploded. Merchandise sales have shattered records. Ticket sales for races in traditional Ferrari strongholds, Monza, Imola, Silverstone, are reaching historic highs. Every image of Hamilton in Ferrari red sets the internet ablaze. The fusion of Hamilton and Ferrari has created an energy that is unlike anything Formula One has seen in years. This is more than just a driver signing. This is a cultural phenomenon. The expectations on Hamilton are immense, but he welcomes them. He has never shied away from pressure. He has built his career on proving people wrong. He knows that Ferrari has not won a driver's title since 2007. He knows that the team has often been its own worst enemy, plagued by strategic missteps, inconsistent car development, and internal politics. But he also knows that he has the power to change that. His ability to extract performance from a team is just as significant as his ability to extract performance from a car. He is already reshaping the way Ferrari thinks, the way Ferrari prepares, the way Ferrari competes. He is not waiting for the team to improve, he is forcing it to improve. The first race of the season will be a defining moment. The world will be watching. Every lap will be scrutinized. Every strategic decision will be questioned. Every battle on track will be analyzed through the lens of what it means for the future. The doubters will be waiting for a stumble, for a moment of weakness, for a sign that this experiment will fail. The believers will be waiting for the first flash of brilliance, the first overtakes, the first podiums, the first signals that Hamilton's arrival has indeed transformed Ferrari into a title contender. Subscribe only if you love Lewis Hamilton and want him to become an 8-time world champion. Hamilton is preparing for that moment with the same level of intensity that has defined his career. Every conversation with his engineers, every lap in the simulator, every analysis of previous Ferrari performances is part of a larger plan. He is not just driving a Ferrari, he is embodying it, becoming part of its fabric, reshaping its identity in real time. He understands that this is not just another chapter in his story, this is the chapter that will define his legacy. If he succeeds, it will not just be another title. It will be the most significant triumph of his career. To win with Mercedes was history. To win with Ferrari would be immortality. And Lewis Hamilton is here for exactly that. From the very first moment he stepped into the Ferrari simulator, everything changed. The engineers, some of the brightest minds in Formula One, were prepared for an adjustment period, a learning curve, a slow process of adaptation that every new driver goes through when they join a team. But that never happened. Instead, what they witnessed was something entirely different, something that redefined their expectations within minutes. His feedback wasn't just precise, it was surgical. He deconstructed the car's behavior with an almost unnatural level of detail, identifying areas for improvement that even the most experienced engineers had overlooked. The adjustments he suggested weren't theoretical, they were immediately implementable, and the results were tangible. The power unit's delivery was refined, the aerodynamic balance was tweaked, and even the way Ferrari approaches tire degradation was reconsidered based on his input. This wasn't just a driver getting to know his new machinery, this was a driver reshaping it. His approach is meticulous, bordering on obsessive. Every lap he drives, every piece of data he analyzes, every conversation he has with his engineers is part of a larger mission, not just to make the car faster but to make it unbeatable. His understanding of racecraft, tire management, fuel strategy, and aerodynamic efficiency is unmatched. He doesn't just rely on instincts, he relies on an almost encyclopedic knowledge of how a Formula One car should behave in every possible scenario. The engineers quickly realized they weren't just working with a driver, they were working with a strategist, a tactician, a perfectionist who refuses to accept anything less than complete dominance. The impact of his arrival was immediate. In Maranello, the atmosphere shifted overnight. The mechanics, the aerodynamicists, the strategists, everyone involved with the Scuderia understood that this wasn't just another season. This was a turning point. The energy in the factory became electric. There was a renewed sense of urgency, a drive, an unrelenting push toward perfection that hadn't been felt in years. Conversations became more intense, data analysis became more detailed, and even the way pit stop rehearsals were conducted changed. No stone was left unturned. No margin for error was tolerated. He had set a new standard, and everyone within the organization had no choice but to rise to meet it. Then came his first laps on track. The anticipation was suffocating. This wasn't just about getting comfortable in the car, this was about sending a message. The moment he rolled out onto the Barcelona circuit for Pirelli's tire test, every single eye in the paddock was watching. Rival teams were monitoring his telemetry, analysts were dissecting his every move, and within the Ferrari garage, the tension was almost unbearable. What followed was nothing short of a masterclass. His first laps were precise, methodical, an exercise in controlled aggression. He wasn't pushing to the absolute limit just yet, he was gathering data, understanding the nuances of the car's balance. But even in that phase, he was already producing lap times that were turning heads. Then, the inevitable happened. He found the limit, and once he did, he never let go. His times began to tumble, his consistency was relentless, and before the end of the first day, he had already outpaced Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's longtime golden boy, by a margin that was impossible to ignore. The paddock erupted in speculation. Was this a sign of things to come? Had he already asserted dominance within the team? Leclerc, to his credit, responded on the second day, matching his times, refusing to be overshadowed. And just like that, the seeds of a rivalry were planted. A battle was brewing inside Ferrari, one that could define not just the season, but the very future of the team. But this isn't just about who is faster on a single lap. This is about influence, about control, about who dictates the direction of the team. And in that department, he already holds the upper hand. His feedback has become gospel within the Ferrari camp. His word carries weight, not just because of his reputation, but because of the undeniable results it produces. The engineers have started adjusting their design philosophy based on his input. The aerodynamic team is rethinking certain elements of the 2025 Challenger based on his suggestions. Even the race strategists are reconsidering their approach, taking into account the level of strategic depth he brings to the table. He is shaping Ferrari in his image, molding it into a machine designed not just to compete, but to dominate. The reaction from the rest of the grid has been one of both awe and concern. Every rival team knows what this means. This isn't just another driver swap. This is a seismic shift in the balance of power. His mere presence at Ferrari elevates them to a new level, one that could be enough to end Red Bull's reign, to disrupt Mercedes' resurgence, to rewrite the entire competitive landscape of Formula One. The paddock is already buzzing with speculation. How will this affect the intra-team dynamics? Will Ferrari allow their drivers to fight freely, or will they back one over the other? And if so, who will emerge as the true leader? The mind games have already begun. Every comment, every radio message, every subtle shift in team dynamics will be scrutinized. The battle within Ferrari isn't just about speed, it's about psychology, about politics, about who gains the upper hand in the long run. He understands this better than anyone. He has been in these situations before, he has navigated internal team wars, he has played the long game, and he has come out on top more times than not. This isn't new to him. It's just another challenge to overcome. And yet, for all the speculation, for all the questions, one thing is undeniable: he is here to win. There is no adjustment period. There is no settling in. He is already operating at full intensity, already forcing Ferrari to reach new levels of precision, already changing the way the team functions at every level. He has ignited something within the Scuderia, something that had been dormant for too long. And as the season approaches, one truth becomes clearer with every passing day: Formula One is about to witness something unprecedented. A battle not just between teams, but within them. A clash of philosophies, of driving styles, of ambitions. And at the center of it all, a driver who refuses to be anything less than the absolute best. The grid has been warned. The fight for the championship has already begun. Lewis Hamilton's transition into Ferrari was never going to be an ordinary story, but even the most optimistic projections did not anticipate what is unfolding. Testing times, tire compounds, fuel loads, these are all factors that can obscure the true competitive picture, but what cannot be hidden is the way a driver interacts with his machine. And in this regard, Hamilton is not simply adapting, he is thriving. From the moment he stepped into the SF25, he looked as if he belonged there, as if he had been sculpted into Ferrari's DNA long before his contract was even signed. There was no awkwardness, no visible struggle, no overcorrections on the steering, no hesitancy under braking. Instead, there was precision, aggression, and an eerie sense of familiarity that should not be possible for a driver who has spent his entire Formula One career driving for Mercedes-powered teams. He is already pushing the limits of the car in a way that suggests he understands its behavior at a fundamental level, as if he has skipped the usual period of acclimatization and jumped straight into optimization. This is not normal. This is not what typically happens when a driver switches teams, especially not after more than a decade of driving in a completely different environment. Learning new car characteristics, adapting to a different power unit, adjusting to new engineering philosophies. These are hurdles that even the greatest drivers take time to overcome. But Hamilton is not navigating these hurdles. He is dismantling them entirely, and that is what makes this so dangerous for his rivals. Red Bull will pretend they are not paying attention, but they are. Max Verstappen will insist that his focus is on his own team, but he knows. Ferrari is no longer a team that beats itself before the season even begins. They are not looking for excuses or settling for being best of the rest. They are targeting Red Bull directly, and for the first time in Verstappen's dominant era, he has a challenge he cannot simply outlast. His biggest threats in previous seasons, whether it was a declining Mercedes, a mismanaged Ferrari, or McLaren still in resurgence, were never able to sustain a title challenge long enough to truly rattle him. Now, everything has changed. Ferrari has committed its entire technical and strategic focus to a single mission: dethroning Red Bull before the next major regulation changes in 2026. They are not holding back upgrades, they are not pacing their development, and they are not thinking about the long term at the expense of the present. Every aspect of their 2025 program is designed for immediate impact, and they have given Hamilton the full backing of an organization that understands that this is their moment. The fear for Red Bull is not just that Ferrari has a fast car, it's that Ferrari now has the right driver to extract the maximum from it. Hamilton's ability to develop a car over the course of a season is unmatched, and his presence alone will elevate the entire Ferrari operation. Every debrief, every feedback session, every on-track adjustment will be executed with championship-winning precision, and that is something Red Bull has not had to worry about in years. Verstappen has won titles by breaking his competition before they could become a real threat. But Hamilton is unbreakable. He has fought through dominant Red Bulls before. He has conquered the sport when it seemed impossible. He is not here to settle for second place. The psychology of this battle cannot be ignored. Verstappen has enjoyed an uncontested reign at the top, free from the kind of sustained, relentless pressure that Hamilton thrived under during his years at Mercedes. If Ferrari has genuinely built a car capable of matching Red Bull, the championship will no longer be dictated by one team's superiority. It will become a straight fight, and Hamilton is at his most dangerous when the fight is head-to-head. The team dynamics within Red Bull are also worth watching. While Verstappen has had the full force of the team behind him, recent tensions between management and the driver camp suggest that all is not as harmonious as it once was. Any internal friction will only be magnified if Ferrari starts taking victories away from them. For the first time in years, Red Bull might have to play defense rather than dictate the pace of the championship, and that is unfamiliar territory for them. Hamilton has nothing to lose and everything to gain. If he wins the title, it cements his legacy as the most adaptable, most resilient, and most complete driver of his generation. If he falls short, he has still reignited Ferrari, reshaped the narrative, and forced his rivals into a fight they were not prepared for. Either way, his impact is already being felt, and the season has not even begun. The early whispers from testing are getting louder, and soon they will be impossible to ignore. Ferrari is coming. Hamilton is ready. Red Bull has been warned. Ferrari's story in modern Formula One has been one of untapped potential, moments of brilliance overshadowed by operational inefficiency, flashes of raw speed negated by strategic blunders, and a historical legacy that has weighed heavy on its own ambitions. Year after year, the same patterns have emerged. The car has often been fast, at times even the fastest over a single lap. The Scuderia has never lacked engineering brilliance, and its ability to build a quick machine has never been in doubt. The problem, the Achilles heel that has kept them from translating speed into sustained championship contention, has always been execution. It has been the way they handle pressure when the margins are razor-thin, the way they react in real time to the unpredictable chaos of a Formula One Grand Prix, the way they make critical decisions in the heat of battle. For all the poles they have claimed, for all the moments of supremacy they have enjoyed, the simple fact remains. Ferrari has not won a driver's championship since 2007 and has not won a constructor's title since 2008. In a sport where precision separates champions from challengers, the drought is not the result of bad luck, it is the result of systemic failure. The problem is not just one of poor decision-making, but of a cultural fragility that has permeated the organization for years. The fear of failure has often led to hesitation, and in a sport where decisiveness wins races, hesitation is fatal. Red Bull, under the guidance of Christian Horner and Adrian Newey, has mastered the art of operational sharpness. Their calls are confident. Their pit stops are lightning quick. Their adaptability is seamless. When an opportunity presents itself, they capitalize. When a strategy needs to be changed on the fly, they do it without second-guessing. Their ability to execute under pressure has made them an unstoppable force, and Max Verstappen, with his ruthless efficiency behind the wheel, has turned that precision into dominance. Ferrari, in contrast, has often found itself a step behind, playing catch-up rather than dictating the narrative of a race. The difference has not just been in machinery, it has been in mindset. This is why 2025 represents a defining moment for Ferrari. It is not just another year, another car, another season. It is an opportunity to rewrite the script, to shake off the ghosts of the past and redefine itself as a team that no longer squanders opportunities but seizes them. And the catalyst for that transformation has arrived in the form of Lewis Hamilton. The seven-time world champion is not just another superstar joining the team, he is a paradigm shift. His presence alone alters the DNA of Ferrari's approach. He has not built his career on hoping for the best or relying on raw speed to compensate for inefficiencies. He has built it on absolute precision, on demanding the highest standards from himself and those around him, on ensuring that no detail is overlooked. Hamilton does not enter a race weekend with questions, he enters with expectations. And those expectations will be felt across every department at Ferrari, from the engineers in Maranello to the strategists on the pit wall. Hamilton is not merely a fast driver, he is a driver who has mastered every facet of racecraft. His ability to read a race as it unfolds, to make real-time strategic decisions, to manage his tires better than almost anyone on the grid, to anticipate the moves of his rivals before they even make them, this is what has made him one of the greatest in history. He is not reactive, he is proactive. He does not wait for opportunities, he creates them. And crucially, he does not tolerate mediocrity. At Mercedes, his influence turned the team into an unstoppable dynasty. It was not just the car that made them dominant, it was the mentality. It was a culture of constant improvement, of refusing to accept anything less than perfection. And that is the culture he will bring to Ferrari. But the question is whether Ferrari will allow itself to be transformed. Because as much as Hamilton will raise the bar, the team must be willing to meet it. He will not accept the indecision that has plagued Ferrari's strategy department. He will not accept the inconsistencies in pit stop execution. He will not accept a team that hesitates in the crucial moments that define championships. He will push them, challenge them, force them to operate at a higher level than they ever have before. But it is not enough for Hamilton to demand excellence. It must be reciprocated by the entire organization. Because if Ferrari remains stuck in its old ways, if it continues to make the same mistakes, then not even a driver of Hamilton's caliber will be able to change their fortunes. This is what makes the 2025 season so compelling. It is not just about whether Ferrari can build a fast car, it is about whether they can finally operate like a team that deserves to fight for a championship. Because if they get it right, if they sharpen their decision-making, if they execute with the same level of precision as Red Bull, then they have every reason to believe they can take the fight to Verstappen and his team. The SF25 does not need to be the outright fastest car on the grid. It needs to be a car that allows Hamilton to do what he does best: maximize every opportunity, extract every bit of performance, and capitalize on every weakness in his rivals. Because that is what he has done for his entire career. He does not need to dominate every race to win a championship. He needs consistency, he needs reliability. He needs a team that does not falter when the pressure is at its highest. And that is what this entire battle comes down to. It is not just Ferrari versus Red Bull. It is not just Hamilton versus Verstappen. It is a war between two philosophies, one that has thrived on flawless execution and relentless efficiency, and one that has too often been undermined by its own shortcomings. Red Bull has set the standard. Ferrari must meet it. If they do, we are on the verge of witnessing one of the greatest title fights in modern Formula One history. If they do not, then Hamilton's arrival will be nothing more than another chapter in Ferrari's long list of missed opportunities. The pressure is immense. The expectations are towering. The opportunity is unprecedented. Ferrari has everything it needs to succeed: an elite driver pairing, a strong technical foundation, a fanbase that will rally behind them like no other. The only question is whether they will seize the moment or let it slip away once again. Because if they falter, there will be no excuses left. The time for potential is over. The time for execution is now. Ferrari's decision to bring Lewis Hamilton into their ranks is not just another blockbuster move in the history of Formula One. It is a shift that could redefine the sport itself. This is not merely a high-profile transfer, not just the biggest driver move in years, but a seismic moment that carries weight far beyond the paddock. It is a declaration, a signal that Ferrari is no longer satisfied with flashes of potential, with being contenders who falter at the final hurdle. It is an admission that the team, for all its history and prestige, has lacked the final ingredient to convert near misses into world championships. They believe Hamilton is that ingredient. But the question is, will Ferrari be able to give him the platform he needs to make history? Will they bend their identity, their internal structures, their very DNA to accommodate a man who has built his career around excellence, around an obsession with winning, around an unbreakable belief that second place is nothing more than a painful reminder of failure? The arrival of a 7-time world champion at Maranello is unlike any driver signing they have made in the modern era. Ferrari is a team of traditions, of legacies, of long-term visions built around drivers they mold, nurture, and integrate into the Scuderia family. They are not a team that typically hands the keys to an outsider, especially not one who has spent his career as their adversary, breaking their hearts and crushing their dreams on multiple occasions. But Ferrari is also a team that has been starved of ultimate glory for nearly 2 decades, watching from the sidelines as rivals like Red Bull and Mercedes have taken turns dominating the sport. For all their rich history, for all their status as the most famous team in Formula One, they have been missing something: an edge, a ruthlessness, a figurehead capable of not just fighting for titles but dragging the entire operation up to his level. Hamilton's presence alone will not guarantee success. He is not a magician. He cannot single-handedly erase Ferrari's strategic missteps, their pit stop errors, their occasional struggles within season development. But what he does bring is a level of experience, a mentality, a way of operating that forces teams to raise their game. At Mercedes, he did not just win races. He helped shape the organization into the greatest force F1 had ever seen. He demands perfection. He thrives in environments where the smallest details are scrutinized, where complacency is treated as a sin, where everyone from the mechanics to the engineers to the strategists is held to the highest possible standard. This is what Ferrari has lacked in recent years: not talent, not speed, but an unrelenting drive for excellence that does not waver under pressure. Yet, one of the most intriguing elements of this move is not just how Hamilton will integrate into Ferrari, but how Ferrari will navigate the internal battle that is bound to arise. Charles Leclerc is not just another teammate. He is the driver Ferrari has spent years investing in, the young star they believed would lead them back to the promised land. He has been the face of their future, the driver whose raw speed, aggressive racecraft, and deep connection with the Tifosi made him seem like the chosen one. But now, he finds himself sharing a garage with a man who has done it all, who has beaten the best, who has spent over a decade defining what greatness looks like. Leclerc is not the kind of driver who will accept a secondary role without a fight. He is not there to be Hamilton's wingman, to watch from the shadows as an older, more decorated teammate takes the limelight. He wants to be world champion, and he knows that his best chance may come in the very same years that Hamilton is chasing his own history. But this creates a dynamic that Ferrari has not had to deal with in a long time: a true internal power struggle, a battle not just on the track but behind the scenes, within the minds of the strategists, the engineers, the decision-makers who must choose, consciously or unconsciously, where their loyalties lie. Ferrari has been burned before by intra-team rivalries. The scars of past feuds, from Prost versus Mansell to Alonso versus Massa to Vettel versus Leclerc, still linger. They know that when 2 top drivers are left to battle freely, it can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes, it elevates both to new heights. Other times, it fractures a team from within, opening the door for rivals to exploit the chaos. So will Ferrari allow Hamilton and Leclerc to fight unrestrained, to race on equal terms until the championship battle itself dictates a natural pecking order? Or will the internal politics, the natural instincts of a team that has long considered Leclerc as their leader, creep in at crucial moments? If Hamilton finds himself in a position to fight for his 8th title, but faces resistance not just from Red Bull and Mercedes, but from within his own team, how will he react? How much influence will he have in shaping the power dynamics? Will his demands be met, or will Ferrari hedge their bets, unwilling to put all their chips on one driver until it is too late? Beyond the internal Ferrari struggle, the wider landscape of Formula One will also play a massive role in shaping Hamilton's chances. Red Bull remains the dominant force, with Max Verstappen at the peak of his powers and Adrian Newey continuing to craft machines that seem almost untouchable. But history tells us that dominance in F1 is never eternal. All great empires eventually fall, whether through regulation changes, internal complacency, or the sheer determination of their rivals. If Ferrari has produced a car that is even within striking distance of Red Bull, then Hamilton's ability to extract every ounce of performance, to maximize opportunities, to pounce on the smallest mistakes, will come into play like never before. And then there is Mercedes, the team Hamilton helped build, the team he leaves behind after an era of unprecedented success. There will be those within Mercedes who believe they made the right call in not bending over backward to extend his stay, that their future lies with George Russell and whoever takes Hamilton's vacated seat. But if Hamilton emerges as a title contender in Ferrari Red, if he is the one battling Verstappen for the championship while Mercedes remains in a rebuilding phase, the echoes of regret will be impossible to ignore. Mercedes may believe their time will come again, that they are playing the long game, but Formula One is an unforgiving sport. The present matters just as much as the future. Hamilton, however, does not concern himself with what-ifs. He is not at Ferrari for a nostalgia trip. He is not here to enjoy the history, to bask in the glow of being part of the most iconic team in motorsport. He is here for one reason and one reason only: to win. He has spent years chasing what no driver has ever achieved, an 8th world championship, the final piece of evidence that would cement his legacy beyond dispute. He is already one of the greatest of all time, but in his mind, that chapter is not yet complete. He wants to finish the story on his terms, with his hand raised in victory, with history rewritten in his favor. The road ahead will be brutal. The competition will be relentless. There will be moments of doubt, moments of frustration, moments where it seems as if the dream is slipping away. But if history has proven anything, it is that when Hamilton is doubted, when he is pushed to the edge, when he is faced with the biggest challenges of his career, he does not just rise to the occasion. He dominates it. If Ferrari gives him the tools, if they back him when it matters most, if they eliminate the mistakes that have plagued them for too long, then Formula One is about to witness something truly special. And if they do not, if the same old problems resurface, if internal battles become distractions, if Ferrari's ambition once again falls short of its execution, then Hamilton's greatest challenge may not be beating Verstappen. It may be beating the very team he has chosen to place his faith in.